Change is inevitable, and yet for most of us it is incredibly scary. Sometimes so scary that we rather try to stay the same than to change. The funny thing is, in reality, we all want some kind of change all the time. We want things to be better. We want better relationships, healthier bodies, a more stable financial situation, more friends, or less to do. But when life tries to take care of those wishes and initiates change, maybe through taking things away from us, or putting a dream or a calling in our hearts, or sending symptoms through our bodies, we often panic, lose ground, and try to hide in old familiar patterns, wishing things would have never changed. The truth is, change is gonna happen, if you want it or not. And if you're healing from mental or physical symptoms, your body is calling in for change. And you can learn how to see change as a new chapter of a life that holds much more beauty than you can imagine just yet. I spend my morning in bed, drinking cacao, praying, and smelling essential oils that are supposed to have a soothing effect. And the reason for that is I'm getting really nervous. I'm moving in 2 days. I'm leaving my kind of familiar home where I lived now for 4 years. The first city I lived in since I moved to Sweden. And I'm moving to a tiny village in the north of Sweden. And just saying that, I'm like, oh my god, what did I do? Yeah, good question. What did I... I'm still gonna do it. And I felt a very clear calling for it. I spent 3 hours to regulate this morning. I'm feeling a bit better. But yeah, change is scary. But we can do it. We can do it. Have you heard about the story of metamorphosis? How the caterpillar is becoming a butterfly? It's not the caterpillar sitting in a warm and cozy cocoon, slowly growing wings and then flying happily ever after as a beautiful butterfly, like nothing happened. Not at all. First, and sorry for the slightly disturbing detail, it almost has to completely dissolve into a nutrition-rich cellular mass. And a small group of cells of the caterpillar, they are called imaginal discs, they carry the blueprint for wings, legs and eyes of the butterfly. And they survive, and they use the nutritions that are left in this kind of nutrition soup and build something entirely new. This is a story a friend of mine has told me recently, and I found it incredibly beautiful. It's not a battle between the old and the new. It's a process. It's a complete reorganization. Without the caterpillar, there's no butterfly. But without all that probably sometimes painful process even, the caterpillar would have never turned into a butterfly. So some parts of us also, turning from a caterpillar to a butterfly, have sometimes to die first. So I just want you to know, if you're going through change right now and it is really hard for you, you're not alone. It is part of change that it hurts and that it is really challenging. Otherwise, there would be not a thing with change in this world. So what you're going through is very normal and very understandable. And I also want to speak to the people of you who are maybe right now not going through change, and not that we always have to go through change, but if we feel stagnant in our lives, the way, for example, your body feels or your mental health is, there is something in us that really wants change. And change does definitely not always have to be something in the outside. It does not mean that you all have to move now, or that you have to create some major change in the outside. It can be, but it does definitely not have to be. But there's also this inner world that very often wants our attention mostly. So also here there's space for change, and I know very well it's not just happening like this. And I'm very critical also towards tips and tricks that tell you just to be nicer to yourself, or just to take better care of your body and all those things, because the reason why we do things is there's often a reason behind that. If we talk very harshly to ourselves, there are often inner parts that are having an origin, and as long as we didn't heal those parts, it's very hard to change things. So I'm not here to want to push you to be even harsher to yourself and try to be less harsh with that. It makes no sense anyways. But really to take a moment and feel into yourself, like what is something you feel. And I think we all have this knowing somewhere where you feel like this is something that really would be good for me to change. Does not That does not mean you have to, let's take the example of being nicer to yourself, that has to start now, and you're not allowed to ever say something harsh to yourself. But this commitment of wanting to, for example, be more self-compassionate, can include asking for help, seeking therapy, starting to read about this topic, understanding yourself better. There will be a lot more videos coming up here on those topics. But also that is a change, a commitment of like, okay, I want to work on this. I don't know how it's going to look like, and I'm very far from the place I want to be at, but I want to. I want to change. And that is a very natural part of life, change. And it's a beautiful part of life. I might share more in future videos about what actually started this huge decision to move. It was such a hard process that in the beginning had not at all anything to do with moving. And I think if we really follow those callings and go with the challenges life brings us, there is beauty waiting on the other side. I've experienced it many times myself, and I'm witnessing so many people also experiencing that. And I'm very, very sure there's something for you there as well. And I hope this sparks something in you, maybe a little reflection on how change is important for you in your life, whether you're in a season where it needs change, or maybe you're also in a season where you had a lot of change and you want to be more compassionate towards yourself, that you went through quite a tough time, and that it's time now to really prioritize stability. And that is also so fine. So I'm glad you were here with me today. See you next time.